Now I'd like to introduce the man who we've booked as something of our keynote speaker. David Schippers is a constitutional attorney. He was the lead counsel on the Clinton impeachment in 1998. This is a man who knows the law, he knows liberty, he knows our government, and now he's going to share his thoughts with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not running for anything. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating the secession of the 13 original colonies from the British Empire. 234 years ago, a new idea burst upon the world. It was radical. Some thought it was bizarre. But that idea was that free men and free women can rule themselves so long as they are operating under a legitimate form of government. Our fathers then met and set forth for all the world to see what it takes to make a legitimate government. In words both familiar and immortal, they said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." That means, under the natural law, merely stating these terms proves their truth. That all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator, not by the government, not by any king, but by their Creator. And they are endowed with these rights at the instant of creation. And among these is life. Life. Are you listening, Mr. Obama? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to secure these rights, governments are instituted among people, deriving their just powers not from the government, not from the politicians, not from the Congress, but from the consent of the people. And whenever any government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. That was the theory behind this country. That is the soul of this country. 11 years later, the founders met in Philadelphia. And they put to use those principles that have been announced in the Declaration of Independence. They sat down and they formed a government based upon the principles of the Declaration of Independence. That is why you cannot separate the Constitution from the Declaration. The Constitution is the how. The Declaration is the why. They formed that government. Now, contrary to some of the local people, not local, but some of the current people around, the founders and the framers of the Constitution understood that man is a wounded race, that he is inclined toward evil and toward corruption unless prevented. They believed with Lord Acton that power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. They did not trust men with government. That's why they set up the rules that they now want to throw aside. They set up a separation of powers. But even more importantly, they set up the checks and balances by which we've lived for years. We all know the checks and balances within the Congress and the executive and the courts. But the most important check of all that they set forth was the check of the states against unlimited government. Arizona is now establishing that check. It worked. It worked great. Over the years, the United States grew in size, grew in stature, and it flourished under liberty. Flourished as no one could have imagined. Until, by the Second World War, we were the most moral, decent, and honorable nation on the face of the earth. Then something happened. In the late they're after me. In the late 19th and early 20th century, a new theory was born, atheistic humanism. This was a movement whose followers believed firmly that we are all too stupid to know what's good for us. But they, most of whom turn out to be overeducated elites, they feel that as they are our betters, they will be able to take care of us. They will be able to tell us what to do. They will be able to plan our entire lives from the day we're born until the day we die, and in their view, that can't be too soon. But it didn't work that way. They had the idea that man is perfectible, just the opposite of what our founders thought. Man is perfectible, and if we'll just let them plan our lives, tell us what to do, tell us how to do it, there will be a heaven on earth. Well, it was put into practice. And let's see if they got a heaven on earth. Let's talk about some of these planners, as I intend to call them. Lenin, Stalin, Hitler, Pol Pot, Mao Zedong. There's your planners, and there's your heaven on earth. But after 200 million people died, they're still at it. They're still trying, and they're trying right here in this country. They want to destroy this country. They want to take over your lives. We can't let it happen. Thanks to the planners, our country has really been turned on its head. We had the ideals of honor, decency, courage, compassion. That flag stood for those. That flag during the Second World War was the hope of the entire world. Now, what's their theory? The end justifies the means, anything goes, and get out of my way. That just isn't right. Ladies and gentlemen, we must take our country back. Now, I guess I'm going to have to start to holler a little bit. We take our country back, but how? How are we going to do it? We're just individuals. No, we're not. This isn't an individual out here. This is a group of American citizens, similar to the American citizens that threw that tea in the harbor.